Hey Star Hunters, it's Orion Senshi. Welcome to today's video. Today is going to be a character build for Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. Now, I'm going off of the Captain Marvel from the movie, the most recent movie, which is still in theaters. Please be sure to go check that out. It is actually really awesome. I saw it and I loved it. Now, I have some elements in here from the comics, but it is not based entirely on that. There are a lot of elements in the comics. I actually went through like 3 to 4 different versions of this as I was tackling it. This is also the highest power level I have ever actually built before. Which that in and of itself is a very unique challenge, and also having something for her to fight at the end was a very special challenge, because the standard Fistful of Nazis run just wouldn't even work at all. And that's just not a thing. So what I ended up doing was I went through the DC Adventures Handbook, which I'm sure some of you have heard of that, because DC Comics did a thing with Mutants and Masterminds 3rd edition to do official releases of all of their heroes and villains. And I went and I grabbed Shazam, back when he was called Captain Marvel. And he's a power level 15 character, and I kind of just threw the two of them at each other for this fight. It is a little bit weird. There's a lot of stuff that drags on, and it's actually really interesting how their powers match up. So now there's some very special stuff I'm going to be going into, some mechanics that I actually found when I was going through the Gadget Guides book, which again I'm gonna probably do a book report on that very soon. I might end up doing that as my 100 subscriber special, just really hardcore going into the Gadget Guides, because that is arguably one of the most enlightening books I've ever gotten. This mechanic I'm gonna introduce here was just amazing. It was an amazingly exciting mechanic that allowed me to have the freedom to build this character more efficiently than I've ever built anything before. So with that said, let's get started. You ready? Let's go. Alright guys, so let's just jump right into Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. She's a power level 15, which is stronger than anything I've honestly ever built before. This is on an entire different level, and I tried my best to represent her as she was in the movie, right? Not how she was in the comics. I got little bits and pieces from the comics, but I tried not to take everything because the comics are a bit convoluted. And yeah, so spoiler warning, I do go into some of the things that do happen over the course of the movie. If you don't want to have any spoilers whatsoever, don't watch this video. At least don't watch this video. Anyway, moving on. So, for her base stats: 4 strength, 5 stamina, 3 agility, 4 dexterity, 6 fighting, 2 intellect, 2 awareness, 4 presence. That's 60 points in abilities, right? Which, pretty cool. Works great. Now you'll notice she doesn't have a very high intellect or awareness. It's still above average, but I try to represent that with skills. Now there was a lot of crowbarring, trying to like fit in a lot of skills in here. My first builds of this character, because I've been through like 3 iterations of it, my first build of this character that I felt really hit the sweet spot with what I wanted for the character had like 30 to 40 points in skills, and like 20 points in defenses, and like 160 points in powers. It was way over the limit, so I had to trim off a lot of stuff in order to get the bare minimum of trying to squeeze Captain Marvel from the movie into a power level 15 character. Now, a lot of people may feel that power level 15 is too high for this character because like she isn't super mega cosmic, but I feel that it really well represents a lot of what she's capable of from what we saw in the movie, and I'll get more into that in a little bit. So, scrolling on down, I also really like this character sheet. I'll see about finding a link for it in there for you guys, because I love this character sheet. I don't know who made it. I'll see if I can find it, but it is amazing. Now, one of the things I like this character sheet is that instead of having lines, it's just a text box that I can edit like a normal text box. That was one of my biggest frustrations with the last sheet. And it gets rid of the spot for the character drawing, so you just have more space to put things. So, jumping into her powers. Hybrid body. She is a Kree-human hybrid, so I gave her Strength +8, stamina +5, immunity 11, which is life support, and she's immune to aging. Protection 5, and impervious toughness 10. Now, this is not additional toughness. This is just 10 of her toughness is impervious. Now, impervious toughness 10, again, is that sweet number that means that she ignores pretty much all handguns, rifles. Only the highest grade conventional weaponry will mildly be a threat to her. All right. Her super senses, I gave her a 1 rank of that, which is her danger sense, which is her 7th sense, which is the sense she has where she always knows when danger's coming, right? And that is a really big part of her character, and that's something we didn't see a whole lot of in, in the movie, but I felt that it was worth introducing. Energy absorption. This is where we grab some stuff from the comics, because in the movie we don't ever actually see her really absorbing energy, right? It is 20 points where she can absorb energy, but it has 2 limitations. She cannot absorb magic, and she cannot absorb cold. And the cold, these are both things from the comics where she can't touch magic, like she can't just absorb magic, and cold is literally not really an energy, it's an absence of energy, and whenever she tries to absorb cold, it just like slows down her metabolism, it slows down her body. From some of the research, I'm not a huge Carol Danvers fan, I'm not going to pretend to be. I've just done a bit of research prepping for this video, and that's a valuable limitation to have on there, so that the character doesn't become completely overpowered. Because beyond magic and cold, if it's not a physical kinetic attack, she ignores it completely. If it is a non-magical, non-cold, any form of attack that is not physical kinetic, like I punch you, or I shoot a bullet at you, or I throw a bomb at you, she will completely and utterly ignore it. I tried to do a thing with this, like I did with the Black Panther one, where I said that when she absorbed it, it would build a charge, and she would use a charge for her attacks. And I got all the way through the design, and then whenever I went to actually test it out in the combat test, it just felt so clunky to keep track of, that I felt like it wasn't worth it. I'll go into that when I get into complications. Now, for her energy control array, right? Because she doesn't just have super strength, she has the ability to control energy. A photon blast, which is range damage 15, split 1, because she can fire 2 blasts with her hands. So she can split. Now, split is different from multi-attack. Multi-attack is you can hit multiple things with no penalty to damage, just a penalty to on-hit. Split is since it's 1, it only costs a lot less than multi-attack. She could do this and fire 2 different things with no penalty to on-hit, but she has to split up the damage, so it limits the damage that can be dealt with it, right? Photon bomb, which is where she throws energy that just explodes in an AoE, right? Which is damage 10 burst area, right? Now, magnetic movement, because she does have control over electromagnetic waves, so she can use that to move things to her and away from her, and she can, because of how much she can attune to that, she can grab anything. It's not even, like, limited from only magnetic objects. She can just use energy to move things. And I gave that precise because she can do very precise things with it, right? Photon construct, create 10 movable. She can create constructs out of energy, and she can move them at will. She can create force fields and force bubbles around things. Now, do remember, if you are using a create power to try to trap someone, it is treated like an affliction, so they get a dodge check against 10 plus the ranks of the create power to determine if they get out of the way before the create power snaps shut, right? So do be mindful of that. People have a chance to get out of the way of that. That is not just a guaranteed you trap them. Now, energy healing. This one was a little bit weird because we didn't super see it in the show, but I felt like it was a worthwhile inclusion because it's the thing she does in the comics. She, depending on who you ask or which who's right in the comic, she doesn't innately have a healing factor like Wolverine's or any of the other ones that just turn on automatically. What she has is this energy healing where she cycles through energy through her body, and she can take that energy and put it in specific areas to focus on that area and let it heal. And that is why I gave her this really, really high rank healing that she can only do on herself. And then flight. Now this one was really fun. I gave her flight 10, which is actually it hit flight 10 touches what a lot of people consider to be her maximum speed in the comics, besides when she's going light speed, which is 3 times the speed of sound, which is just over 2,000 miles per hour. Flight 10 caps out at 2,000 miles per hour. It's like 2,300 something. And so I felt that that was a good thing. Gave it precise because since she's just born to fly, she can do very precise and unique maneuvers while flying. So you can represent that however you see fit. And then acrobatics plus 10 because while she's flying, she just is more acrobatic. It's, pretty simple there, right? Now, this next part is where stuff gets super wonky, right? Dun, 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 dun. Awaken form. Now, at first, my first draft for this, I was calling this binary, because a lot of people are just presuming that this is their representation of binary, of her binary powers. For those of you who don't know, in the comics, there was a point in which she became connected to a white hole on the far side of the universe, and then no matter where she went, she was always drawing power from that white hole. And when she had this whole array of powers, which she eventually was cut off from that thing, and everyone thought she lost those powers, but then you found out she didn't lose those powers. She just lost access to the energy source. So if she absorbs enough energy, she could go into her binary state and gain access to those powers. Which also brings up one thing about her in the comics that we don't see in the movie, which is in the comics, she doesn't really generate energy from what I've seen. She generates some energy, but a majority of her power is done by absorbing other people's energy and redirecting it. So much of her stuff, and that's one of her biggest weaknesses, is she can run out of energy and just be completely drained. And whenever she goes into binary form, if she absorbs enough energy to actually start the reaction to go into binary form, she can do all kinds of stuff while she's in binary form, but it completely depletes her energy reserves, kind of like if Superman were to go like complete super mode, but in exchange for that use up all of the light energy that's stored in his cells, and then when he was done, just be completely drained. And I tried to represent that here based on what happens when she starts glowing, and it becomes very noticeable that she is different now. Whatever she was before, she is different now. This is after that she breaks the neck thing, she breaks the power inhibitor, and she really comes into her own. Hair is flowing, no longer needs the helmet to breathe in space. She is just different. So I'm not calling it binary because we don't have confirmation that this actually is binary. I'm calling it her awakened form because that was just the best I could come up with. Yeah, is what I got. Anyway, so let's jump into what she has in her awakened form. I gave her movement, space travel 3. This cost 6 points, and this was ability to move at light speed between galaxies, which is a thing she has. Now, because she has the life support, she doesn't need to breathe anymore. So I could have put life support down here in awakened form. It was just a weird thing of where to put it. This is an alternate form that I let her transform into in a free action. So I was like, eh. Now, if anyone's been paying attention, you will also have noticed up until this point, I scaled all of her powers to power level 12 before hitting awakened form. So power level, her base form is power level 12. Her awakened form jumps up her stuff to power level 15. And here now I make use of a modifier called additive. This is something that was introduced, I believe, in the Powers Profiles book, and I was introduced to it in the Gadget Guides book. Additive means that this is put on an alternate form or a device that is modifying an existing power, adding ranks to an existing power. Additive will essentially just be extra ranks added onto a power of the same name, or whatever you say additive, and then you say what it's adding to, right? Now, for instance, energy absorption, right? Normally, she has energy absorption, 20 ranks, absorbing all energy kinds of things, right? Well, in this state, it actually transforms entirely, right? She doesn't just absorb regular energy in this state. She absorbs kinetic energy. She absorbs physical blows in this form. And you see this where she is just using her body to plow through and just tackle and body slam these ships in the final battle, where she's just like plowing through. She's not even attacking. They're just hitting her, and she's just absorbing their kinetic energy and letting them destroy themselves as they run through her, right? So for this, I made immunity 60. Now, normally it's immunity 80 for immunity to toughness checks, but because it's adding to the 20 ranks that are from the previous energy absorption, this goes up to, you just have to add 60 here, right? And it is noticeable, so I gave it the extra limitation that it is noticeable, right? That this thing, it's glowing, and people will see she'll start glowing harder whenever she's absorbing stuff, as she's just building up energy as she's absorbing it, right? Again, it has it can't absorb magic, it can't absorb cold, right? And additive. Now, for the energy control array, this is pretty much everything she did up here, for the most part, added as a part of her stuff. And I just realized something I could have done differently. Now, I like it this way. I just realized that I could have put her strength on her energy control array, but her strength doesn't necessarily come from her energy. It's just her innate body that is stronger because of her Kree body. She has superhuman strength. Anyway, moving on. So we have the photon blast. It gets 6 additional damage. So it goes from a range damage 15 to a range damage 21, which that hits pretty hard. Photon bomb gets 4 extra ranks, so it goes from a 10 to a 14. Magnetic movement gets +6, so when she moves things, it goes from a 15 to a 21, so that's a lot of strength for moving things, right? Photon construct goes from a 10 to a 4, so her constructs get stronger. Now, I said photon power here is... This one is strength +6, and it stacks with her alien invulnerability. So that makes her punches go from a 12 damage to an 18 damage. Her strength goes up to 18. Her energy healing goes from a 31 to a 42. And her flight goes from a 10 to a 16. Which is... Now, this flight 16 goes far beyond her stated top speed of non-light speed travel, or at least what she's been clocked. But it also, people have said that as she gets stronger, as she builds extra energy, as she does stuff, she goes beyond and kind of just continues to push past her limits. She's kind of like the Hulk in that limits are kind of a joke to her, right? Now, moving on, I only gave her three advantages: power attack, improved initiative, accurate attack. I would have liked to give her more, but that was legitimately not an option. Now, let's go down the run of skills here. 3 ranks in acrobatics, 3 ranks in athletics, 6 ranks in unarmed combat, 4 ranks in tactics, 3 ranks in intimidation. I almost didn't include the intimidation, but I had to, because in that movie, that like, boom, huge photon thing behind you. Yeah, I had to include that. 4 ranks in perception, 5 ranks in ranged combat for her, just her energy array. I say photon array, but I mean energy array. 5 ranks in technology and 5 ranks in vehicles. Now, this frustrates me. This is my greatest regret for this build. I wanted her to have 20 ranks in vehicles, because she does. She just does. But that wasn't an option. All right. So now, complications. I gave her a weakness to mind control. She's extremely weak to mind control and takes a -5 penalty when trying to resist mind control or having her memories modified. Over the course of the comics, from what I have seen with her, it has always been people attacking her mind because they can, like, nothing can overwhelm her body. That's just not a thing, right? Unless they break her mind first. And repeatedly, over and over again, bad guys have gone after her mind. Now, I was tinkering with a design that would have featured an a charge building mechanic, like what I did with Black Panther, where her energy absorption, both energy absorptions would absorb energy, and as they absorbed energy, they would build charges. And then there would be no upper limit to the number of charges, and she'd get a hero point if she got caught without charges, or she ever ran out of charges, because all of her abilities would cost charges. Her base energy control array would cost 1 charge each. Her awakened form, like transforming, going binary, whatever, would cost 5 charges. And then in order to use the enhanced control array, it would cost 2 points instead of 1. Because you'd be triggering the energy control and the enhanced energy control. And that was something I tinkered with. It made it all the way to the design stage, and I was like 3 rounds into the test game with Shazam, when it was just getting so complicated keeping track of energy usage. Now, part of it is because a portion of Shazam's stuff does magic damage, which she just wouldn't build energy, and if I use that as a limitation, Shazam at some point would literally just kite her, stay back, rain down lightning bolts, or fire lightning bolts, depending on which version of Shazam you're dealing with, at her, so she couldn't absorb the magical lightning bolts, because he's just like also in that design I didn't have the enhanced energy control array flight, and yeah, it was not pretty. It was really not pretty. And yeah, that was a thing. So this was complex. I abused the additive in order to have these 2 different things. Now, it's up to your GM if he allows stuff like this, if he allows the additive modifier in order to allow you to modify things. Now, additive is still normally bound by the power level limits of the series. Someone told me, why don't I just do holding back? Holding back is generally associated with teenage superheroes, but also I would have had to design an entire different character, and that wasn't what I wanted. The other question is, why would she not be in her awakened form? Well, that's between you and your GM. We'll come up with a reason why she wouldn't be in her awakened form. Maybe being in her awakened form does have a time limit, right? We didn't see a time limit or any exhaustion in the movie. There was no time limit or weakness or anything. She was able to enter and exit that form freely with no real needed effort after she got rid of the limiter. It could just be a sustained thing, where being in this awakened form takes a free action every turn to maintain the awakened form. So then if you get staggered or if you get stunned then you just get knocked out of it. That could be a thing. I'm not sure what would really stun her, but yeah. Now, her toughness was the only thing that didn't get buffed, really. Like, her defensive stats didn't really get buffed because the energy absorption pretty much just absorbs all of the things. She has a very low will because she is shown to be very susceptible to mind control. Anyway, this has been my Captain Marvel build. It's definitely exciting. I put a lot of work into it. I hope you guys like it. Now we're going to jump over to story time, where I tell the story of the two Captain Marvels duking it out. You ready? Let's go. Alright, everybody. So, actually, before I jump in here, I would like to show this. This is from the DC Adventures book, Captain Marvel. He has a bunch of stuff. I gave him the ability to throw the lightning. Made it in AoE. Oh, not AoE. I made it if he calls the lightning down, it's a... Because he's not the one casting it, someone else is casting it. I made it a line damage. 19. And then if he throws it, I made it a thing where he gets a +6 to on hit because he's not as good at aiming it. And then the 19, so it's not up to power level, but it's very strong. But yeah, as for stats, dodge 11, parry 10, will 15, fortitude 15, toughness 19. He has, I don't think he has any. He has impervious. He has impervious toughness 19. So he's immune to everything that is 10 damage or below. Which, that's super scary. It means he completely ignores a bunch of stuff. He's impervious will 10, so he's immune to anything that would try to persuade him that is 5 ranks or less. Which is super important. That actually comes into play here. And he can fly at flight 15 of 64,000 miles per hour. So he's a fast boy, and I think I got everything there. His lightning is his unarmed attack is +11 to hit, and it has damage 19. Both his fist and his lightning bolt do damage 19. He's just much less skilled at aiming the lightning bolt than he is at aiming the fist. Without further ado, let's go. Carol's been sent to collect this new superhero and bring him in for questioning. His last fight with Black Adam tore a hole in reality, and the two fell into her reality, and now they're her problem. She needs as much information as possible on the new champions in her realm. Great. Magic. Just what I need, Carol thinks to herself as she heads to the last known location of the Cape superhero. Stark cooked up some device that should be able to track his molecules since he's not from this reality. She follows her tracker's lead. This leads her to a young boy in a red hoodie. Great. Some civilian must have been sucked into the hole. She floats over to him. Hey kid, listen. Stay calm. I know things are really scary, but I need you to come with me and I'll try to get you home to your parents, she says as she lands. Oh no, he thinks. She must be a superhero from this reality. There's no way she can handle Black Adam. I need to get rid of her and keep searching for him. Billy says to himself. He starts backing away, putting his hands up, says, listen, lady, trust me, I'm fine on my own. Before he can even blink, she swoops down and grabs him. Listen, kid, this is for your own good. Don't try to act like a tough guy now. Realizing he's out of options, he screams, Shazam! And a lightning bolt comes down from the sky. The blast knocks Carol's back. Was that magic? As the dust clears, she looks and she sees standing before her with his hands on his hips is the Cape superhero in red. Ma'am, trust me, you don't want this, he says. Dusting herself off, Carol replies, actually, yes. Yes, I do. Okay. That was magic, Carol says to herself. I need to put this guy down fast. So she fires a photon blast at him while still in her base form, not ready to give away her potential. She hits him, and she knocks him completely off guard. But even so, with his superhuman durability, he's only left slightly dazed by the attack. He realizes that that everything's spinning around him and he can't really move very well right now. He channels his lightning bolt into his hands and tries to throw it at her, and he gets a lucky shot hitting her. She's rocked back with a little bit. It hurts, but she's not dazed. This is magic. I can't absorb this. She calls upon her stored energy reserves. She awakens into her full form, realizing she can't afford to hold back against the magic user. She flies at him full speed and throws her full power punch, planting her feet and throwing it. It looks like she's going to miss, but she channels all of her experience into the punch, and it hits him with a force that causes the ground to shake. But even so, he's still just dazed, a little bit shaken, but he's not staggered. He's not knocked on his bum. Shazam, realizing he doesn't have any more space, she's in his face and she's glowing. Her hair is floating up in the air, and the entire everything's spinning around him. He tries to throw a punch of his own, and he hits. But when he hits her, it seems like it does nothing. She just starts to glow even brighter. Seeing that he's dazed, Marvel decides to trap him inside of a photon construct. She creates an energy bubble to hold him in place. He tries to dodge and roll out of the way, but in his dazed state, he can't get away. She says, "I'm not letting you out till you tell me who you are and who that other guy is." Oh no, Billy thinks. She's caught me. He tries to attack the light bubble to break free, and he hits the side of the bubble with his force. It causes the bubble to shake, and Carol's just barely able to hold it together. "You don't understand," he screams. "I'm the only one who can defeat him. He's beyond the gods." Marvel knows that sound. She knows that desperation, the desire to deal with everything by yourself. She flies closer to the bubble, floating directly above him, and she tries to calm him. "Listen, kid," or whatever you are, "I know what it's like to think that you have to solve everything by yourself and you can't rely on anyone else. But whatever this is, it's definitely out of your control. Your fight broke you both into another reality. There could be all kinds of collateral damage. This isn't okay." And as she tries to persuade him, he almost feels himself slipping, but he calls upon the courage of Achilles to overcome her attempts to coerce him. He realizes she's directly above him, and he sees the clouds above her. He says, "You want to know my name? Then fine, here it is. Shazam!" He yells, and a lightning bolt comes raining down to hit her. She's unable to dodge it, and she gets hit, and it is still dazed, and everything starts to spin around. She can't absorb this power, and he says, "I could do this all day," and he pushes himself, screaming, "Shazam!" again. And she fails to dodge this one too, and it's even more magic. She's pushed all the way to her limits, like she's about to collapse. Carol says, "Okay, kid, that hurt?" She releases the bubble, and she starts channeling all of her energy in order to start healing herself. And with her energy, she's able to completely heal herself back up to full strength. She Oh, okay. Alright, so. And then, after she heals herself, she fires a photon blast at him, and she hits him, pushing herself even beyond her limits in her reaction speed. As he gets knocked back and is dazed, she says, "Are we just going to shoot back and forth all day?" Shazam, realizing the bubble's gone and that things are starting to spin again, says, "What is this woman?" He can't keep up with her. He can't keep this fight going, and he starts flying straight into space, thinking he can get away from her. Even in her fatigued state, she's able to fly and keep pace with him, getting right in front of him. And she throws a punch at him, but she misses. Sam says, "You can go into space too?" He tries to punch her. She doesn't even bother dodging. It just bounces off of her as she absorbs the energy from the punch. "You done, kid?" She tries to throw another punch as this is breaking out into just a straight up brawl, and she can't even hit now. She misses. He throws another barrage of punches at her, and she just keeps absorbing his punches, and he realizes this isn't working. I need to put some distance between us and keep trying to call down the lightning. I have to get below the cloud cover. Carol sees that he's going to try to make a break for it and realizes she can't let this go on for much longer. She flies straight up into outer space and then takes a long, wide turn in order to build momentum, coming down and hitting him with her fists with her full force, and putting her full body weight behind the attack as she hits him, and it plows straight into him, knocking him back as he floats, doing a backflip in midair, staggered by the blow, shaken to his very core. The force of the impact causes her to get rattled as well, but her awakened form is able to absorb the energy, charging herself up. And as she gets in his face, she comes in for one last punch, throwing it with everything she's got, and she's able to hit the staggered superhero, knocking him straight back into his child state. She pushes herself beyond her limits to react even faster now, because her punch has knocked him back into his child state, and she realizes he'll die out here in space. She wraps him in a protective bubble to save him. Alright, so that was another superhero versus superhero fight. This one was really fun to do. There's a lot of balance issues here, because I had to make Carol Danvers power level 15, or have her a way to consistently be power level 15, in order to have her be on par with Superman, Shazam, and these other characters who are power level 15, because if not, like, I don't think I was doing the character justice. But that could be a little bit frustrating, because Marvel does nerf these characters when they put them on the big screen. Now, I don't know if these are the kinds of powers that Billy Batson Shazam is going to have in the upcoming movie. Look forward to that. I should do a build on that whenever it comes out. And yeah, it was a good one. Now, the last turn might be a little bit confusing, so I guess I'll go through that really quick. What she did was she used her movement for the turn to move maximum distance off into space, right? And then she did what's called the charge, which is if you move, you standard action, move, and then at the end of that movement, you make a melee attack at the target. You generally move in a straight line to a target, and you have a -2 to the on hit. And you could turn a charge into a smash if you put your full body weight behind it, which increases the damage, but then you roll toughness against half of whatever you hit. Because she was immune to toughness checks, she just would completely ignore the damage. So she used her movement to move full distance away, and also if you move, you normally would add 1 damage for a smash, but if you move maximum distance, you add 2. So she went full distance, then she moved her max distance back and hit him, and then extra efforted in order to get an extra standard action in order to punch him again and finish the fight, to get him while he was staggered before he could run away or do anything stupid. And then got him in the force bubble and carried him back to safety. So that's what happened there. Overall, I had a great time making this character. Look forward to it and other stuff coming down the pipeline. I'm going to have a couple more videos coming out this week. I'm finally starting to get some things stabilized. And if you know anyone who you think would be interested in these kind of videos, who does Mutants and Masterminds or other tabletop RPGs, please let them know about my channel. Pass along this stuff to them. Share it with them. I would really appreciate it. I want to keep growing and keep reaching out to more people. Like, comment, liking the video also helps me know what you guys like, what videos you enjoyed, so I can make more of the content you want. Comment below what you want to see more of, what superheroes you want to see, or what rules you want me to explore. I'm going to have a link to my Discord in the description below as well. So, and also subscribe, ting the bell, so that way you'll know whenever my videos go live. And always remember the motto: shoot for the stars, have wonderful adventures, live your dreams, and always, always, always enjoy you some memes. Have a good one, everybody.